Hey, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. We are Pole on the Call. My name is Cris Rivers.
And I'm Mandy Mac.
Yes, and we are excited to be here with the incredible pole competitor and pole comedy amateur winner of the pole theater, HannahBelle Pinup Pole.
Hi.
Yay! Thank you
I
so much for being here with us, Hannah.
You guys for having me.
truly pleasure. I guess we'll get right into it. What started your pole dance journey?
Um, well, I grew up dancing. Started with gymnastics, and then moved to dance. Competed growing up with my studio, and then I moved to dance team in high school. Um, did some dancing in college. Um, I moved around to like different majors, but then my 21st birthday, my friends took me to a club because I just wanted to go. Um, and I had to like really think about this before because like, did I go before I was 21 or was it my 21st birthday? It was my 21st birthday. And I literally just fell in love with the artistry that I saw on the stage. And you might hear one of my cats whining for attention. So we might get a visit from a very needy Maine Coon at some point. Um, but it was just like the artistry I saw in there and the sexiness and everything. And I loved it. Now, I didn't like actually get into pole for quite a few years later. It wasn't until I had met my husband and moved to where I am now that I had a studio. A friend was doing it. Actually, she was there at the club with me also, and she had gotten into it. She's like, here, come to my studio. And I did it. And it just kind of went from there. And here I am now, 7 years later.
I love that. So
Love it.
finding that your dance background helped you when you started transitioning to pole.
It did in some aspects, it did not in a lot. With the artistry part, 1000%. Some things like flow and being able to count musics and like downbeats and stuff like that comes easy to me. Tricks and stuff like that. It was till an extent it did in the beginning. Then I had struggled with my weight on and off now for a few years, and then that has now become like my nemesis. But flow wise and floor work, words are hard. That has always been like a strong part for me. But like anything sexy and sensual, that was a huge struggle for me until about, I want to say, the last year when I literally forced myself to do, um, trying to think, the PSO calls it, is now changed it to sensual. It was heels and it was exotic. I had forced myself to do it and kind of pushed myself out of the box and like had to strip some, I guess, sexual trauma away to be like, let's go, you're okay. And now I'm a little bit more open and free with myself, and it was the most liberating experience.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up and being able to talk about that because it is like I feel like it's a lot of our experiences where we're like, I want to take the sexy classes, but it's like, first of all, it's hard.
Oh, it is. I'm like Bambi on ice, still in heels. Like I get by with what I do. That is like a goal right now, is to get better in heels. I still like I could pirouette with no shoes on and whatnot there, but I literally, the correction I get all the time, you have to be on your box more. Well, I'm not on my box more. What? I'm not all the way on my box. I feel like I'm on my box. No, you're not on your box all the way. I'm like, every time one of my instructors is always like, you got to work on your heels, girl. I'm like,
I'm on the box. It's there.
Because it's
Oh my
hard,
gosh.
but I do love how you mentioned um, that, and I thank you for mentioning it, that it does allow us to kind of deal with certain things that we've dealt with,
yeah.
short traumas and things like that. Everybody, it takes a different amount of time for everybody, but I love that you brought it up because it's true. It helped with me and certain things that happened with me as well.
Yes, same. Yeah. Right. I think it's important for us to bring that up because it does help us in many other aspects as well once we
I
delve
always
into
say
those places.
I always say that pole is therapeutic. It is not therapy. You still need to see a therapist,
Yes.
but it did help bring a lot out to show that I am now in a safe spot to feel vulnerable. And if someone isn't allowing me to feel safe, they're obviously the asshole and they are the problem and they need to be removed from the situation. But it was, as I said, it was a very liberating experience. And I was able to bring back a good side of myself that I had lost for a few years.
Love that. Pole is amazing in so many different ways. I was also wondering if you had a theater background because you talk about being a storyteller and how you. Um, I always wonder how, because I had only a dance background and my storytelling abilities are like none.
I do. I do. I did theater camps growing up. I did plays and stuff. And then in high school, I was a theater and choir kid. Had one of the leads in the musical my senior year. I don't do it as much, but I do sing. Most of the time if you catch me singing, I'm singing like a dork, but if I try, I can. But yeah, musical theater geek. I do a lot of musical theater characters. That's pretty much my niche. I do a lot of that. But I have a heavy background in theater, musical theater.
Love it.
In your pieces with all the props and the costume. When did you start making the transition from student to start competing?
I signed up for my first competition 6 months in. I saw people signing up at my studio and kind of got FOMO and said I was just going to do it because I had competed before. So I was just like, well, can't be that much different. Spoiler, it is. And I signed up for level 1 entertainment. Had no idea what I was doing. Barely even had a lot of foundationals down at that point. Got injured, was nursing a shoulder injury that I have into this day. Got through it, celebrated my 1-year anniversary polling 2 weeks before I had my first PSO competition, and went out there and owned level 1 entertainment as Velma Kelly, and found out that all the times that I was growing up that people were making fun of me for being too animated on stage was actually a gift that I had, and that I don't need to hide it, that it was actually really a good thing, and that people just were trying to just be a jerk essentially, and they just thought it was just a little too much for them.
Thank you also for bringing that up. I've heard that so many times where like dancers will be like, wow, I've like my whole dance career, people have told me to stop using my face so much, but in pole on the competition stage and when you're trying to convey like some entertainment value, like for sure you need all of that animation in your face.
Yes, so
Hell
much.
yeah.
The more the better for me. Like that's when I like help other classmates and stuff. I'm like, you got to deliver it just straight, please, just right there. If you think you're being ridiculous, you probably could be a little more ridiculous. Like you have to be on the verge of just, like I tell people, be an idiot, just do it, it's fine. Like I walked on stage scratching my butt, like it's fine. I've walked off scratching my butt and pretending to pick my nose, like it's fine.
I love it. And you did it purposely. See, I always walk off picking my wedgie, but like I don't mean to do that.
Oh, I had that ingrained in my brain as like a kid, that unless that you're going to have some sort of like you're going to expose yourself, don't touch it. And even then, now I've had something that I'm surprised I haven't had a deduction for, that I think it's because I didn't bring awareness that it was going on, that I think either the judges just ignored it or nobody saw it, because I wasn't making any sort of idea that I knew that there was a breeze. And And it was not these lips talking either. I found out I had my shorts on backwards and they were a little tinier in the back.
No.
The next day, I had to wear them for pole cleaning the next day, and I had washed them and I put them on and I had realized, I was like, oh, that's why. And I'm like, oopsie daisy.
Oh my gosh, right? No one realizes that's a talent all of its own, just to leave your clothing, just leave it as it is.
If you start drawing too much attention, that's when people start seeing that it is. Like the only time I've ever like had to do something like to fix my costume is like when I was in actual dance. We had these heavy beaded pants. I was starting to lose my pants. And so I had to like kind of yank them up. And even then I got a side eye from an instructor.
Let those pants fall off of you.
You have a nude leotard on underneath. You're fine. She's like, you're of age. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Well, that's your we talked a bit about your pole dance competition experience. Have you only done PSO or
No, I did pole theater. That was my first non PSO experience. It was probably my most intimidating experience, other than competing in level 3. I will say beyond PSO and being a level 3 and not having an aerial invert and knowing that I was going in being slightly over my pay grade and having to just work with what I got. But knowing I was going even into an amateur level, knowing I was going to be competing against people with a handspring and with Aishas and a lot higher of a level of difficulty, but having to remind myself constantly that it is not 100% about the skills in there. It is about your artistry. And it was one of the more scary and intimidating things for me. And I still will probably until something bigger happens, that'll be the proudest moment of my pole career, because I tell people I truly did not think I was winning that. Like I slipped on my skirt. I was like, it is what it is. The person who I thought was going to win, because everybody in the amateur division the amateur comedy division was stacked. I was like, who I thought was winning, I'm like, she's amazing. Everyone's amazing. I'm fine. I'm happy to be here. I was having drinks. I was fun. I was having a great time. And then they called my name and I'm like, say what? I had my Taylor Swift moment. My pictures of me at crowning are literally like, no.
I love that so much. Congratulations.
A lot of people feel they have to like have the perfect like toe point, perfect straight knees, perfect like just tricks in general. But it's nice to see that there are competitions who like it's artistry also. It's not all.
Yeah. I like that. And I have told people, like, even with being in like say level 3 of PSO, I have technically won level 3 without, in the entertainment division, without an aerial invert. I have worked with what I got. I have more advanced descents. I just work with what I got. Like, yes, I have gotten comments, we would like to see an aerial invert. That's a different conversation for another day. But I just work with what I got and make what I have as clean as I can possibly can, and just give them the best showing as I can. Because as I said, you don't want me to attempt an aerial invert on stage, because I'm gonna get more comments about that very disengaged aerial invert that I probably will not get. Yeah, so you'd rather would me not do it.
Those comments, I'm sorry to hear that you experienced that. Those comments can be frustrating, especially in a competition or showcase where it's not a code of conduct relation. So they shouldn't even be looking at tricks like that. It's frustrating.
But I have seen they just did that update that they did add and descending. So I'm hoping there'll be a change with that. Like, I know that not every judge that does it, they are volunteers. I like do say that PSO, they are volunteers. Not every judge is like that. I do know that they just take it for what some people just take it for what it is. They have 2 minutes to write down comments. Like, you're going to write down the quickest thing that you can see. Like, I've talked with that with my instructors. They're going to find the quickest thing. Like, if you don't have a straight leg and a jade, well, guess what? That you just gave them a very quick comment to write down. So it is what it is. But sometimes it is very discouraging when you're like, well, you just gave me a 1 in level appropriateness, but I just did a descent from a stargazer into a brass bridge, but you're going to give me a level, like a 1 in level appropriateness, but that's pretty comparable, in my opinion, to doing an aerial invert and technically more interesting, in my opinion. I know it's very subjective. It's like the same in pinup. It's very subjective. And on a different day, another thing could happen. Different people could place.
Right. Yeah. Right. I don't know how it was before, but I recently started judge wrangling, and one of my duties is to double check that the judges are giving like good critiques and not just being really vague. So hopefully all of the comments and everything will be more valuable going forward. And
I had
but
some
you're
for CPC. I got some actually like valuable ones. Great Lakes also. It hasn't been in like about a year since I've gotten some that just made me go.
right. Yeah.
I
Right.
think the
Hopefully
only
it'll be
one that
better.
made me
Yeah.
go this last time made me go was someone for like the stage etiquette one. I didn't like, those are easy ones, and I've never gotten anything below a 5, and someone gave me below a 5. I'm like, huh?
No, that should not have happened. That's one of the
No,
ones
and
where, like,
I
if
was
you're
talking
on the
to our
stage,
unicorn about that, and she was like, "What?" And then she's
yeah,
like, "When you
no.
get your thing back, look." And that judge gave no one a 5, and so I'm like,
Okay, they
"Oh,
were
okay."
misinformed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, but I have heard from other studios that some people take that as differently. But
No.
if you get well informed with your, that's why I tell people when they compete, read your scoring elements, know your score sheet. Don't go into this blindly.
Yeah.
Like, please just don't be an ill-informed competitor. Please read your, like, know it forwards and backwards, even
Mm.
the technical score card. Just know what you're getting yourself into, know the rules, be just like overly knowledgeable on it, just so you can know when you read this, you can take it with a grain of salt and you can look at it and be like, huh, okay, I'm just gonna put that out of my mind as something I've had to work on. That of just like taking these comments with a grain of salt. Don't live on it.
Yes.
Which everybody can say that easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, right though. I'm glad you also brought up like for the levels and everything, because I also, when I competed level 2, you can invert from the floor in that one, but I didn't, and I still placed on that one. So that just goes to show you that like you don't, like, my inverts look like crap at that point. I was not putting them on stage. Like, you definitely just want to showcase what you're good at.
I haven't inverted for lies. CPC, I did invert from the floor. That was the first time I inverted from the floor in like 3 competitions. And I was very surprised with myself. But I was also I was in free dance, and they don't tell you if you're a 2 or a 3. So I was like, well, they're not gonna clock me. So I'm just gonna put an invert from the floor. They could just think I'm a level 2.
It's too funny.
Oh my gosh, how did you like the free dance category? I
I
loved it.
actually loved it. I thought I was gonna hate it, but it was a very freeing moment for me because of I'm a control freak when I compete. Like, I have to have every little detail, and if like something goes wrong, I'm usually the person in the dressing room crying because I am that bad of a perfectionist of like, I have a competition routine that people love, that literally people know that I messed up from it was fudged from like a minute in towards the end, and none of my passes were that. And as soon as I walked off the stage, I was like sobbing for like 45 minutes. And I was one of those, I was like, I just wanted 4th place because I didn't want to have to bump. And still got 4th place. And everyone's like, see, you got what you wanted. I'm like, but I messed up the whole routine that I've been working on for months. And then there's another one, I fell out of a handstand and it looked like I almost kipped. And then I still got third place, and I'm sitting backstage dressed as the genie, crying in blue makeup. And now it's hilarious to me. But at the time, it was not hilarious because I was so afraid I was going to get like a fall deduction or something. And because I wasn't hurt, but I was like, I'm gonna get last place because I like bit it. And like I had comments, great save on the fall, because I literally just was like, ta-da, after I came out of a handstand. And I'm like, it had never happened before, but was just sobbing because I'm like, I messed up. And everyone's like, it just reminded me of like Bring It On, of like, let's go find your tooth. And everyone's like, nobody noticed it. And then I watched it and I'm like, oh, you can tell I fell. That is not a kip. Like, you can tell my foot missed the pole. Thank you for trying, but I can tell.
Oh my gosh. I love these experiences though, because it's just great to share, because anything could go wrong on this stage, but you've got to keep going.
Nobody knows
you
your
weren't hurt.
routine but you. Unless you're hurt, like,
Yes.
like, I've seen people fall where they should have stopped.
Yes.
Which I wish as a culture that we should stop as a community of like,
Yes.
keep going. If you fall out of a cross ankle release, can you please stop?
Right.
Please.
The adrenaline
No,
has
please
taken
stop.
over. Yeah.
Like, I knew that I was fine. I kept going. But if it's a simple fall, like, yeah, but we need to make sure people's safety is at hand. But like, if you make a mistake, I've seen people just like freeze up and stop. I'm like, just keep going. Like, I think that's what dance has also prepared me for, of like, I've had to just learn to keep going no matter what happens. Like slipping on my skirt at pole theater, I just popped my ankle and I popped to the other side of the pole and just like kept going. And like, and I just, what else was I supposed to do? Just like give you a dead stare on stage and be like, I'm going to walk off stage now, goodbye. No, I just worked for months to get on a national stage. No, I'm going to continue to give you the show that I worked for.
Right. Right. Anything could happen on that stage.
Yeah. No one knows your routine but you and your coaches.
Yes. I love all of this great advice for competitors. Do you have any more advice for competitors, maybe first time competitors?
I literally, like, this is the one thing, if I like, I don't want to be an actual pole instructor. I don't want to teach the actual physical art of pole dancing, because I have engagement issues myself, and like there's some things that I am not the best at. But I want to teach like character work, musicality, how to count, things that I see that I think that people would benefit from. It's more of like, don't wait until the last minute to pick your music. People wait until the deadlines. It's just like little things. As I call myself, like dance mom, dance auntie. I am the one that's like backstage of like, you have to wear stage makeup. I'm like, doesn't matter your gender identity. You have to put a little bit of stage makeup on. You're going to get washed out. I had to like rush and put makeup on people. Oh, I'm like, I'm gonna sweat up. Come here. You have to. You're gonna get lost, and then no one's gonna see your facial expressions. You have to put something on your lips. You have to put something on your cheeks, your eyes. It doesn't matter. You can perform in glasses if you need to. I've had to be like, there's so many. Tape yourself in, wear pasties. Doesn't matter if you can swear on anybody. You better have pasties on. Like I could literally like a huge list of things. If you are doing character work, my biggest advice for everybody is if it's an actual character, research that character. Research how that character walks. Research how that character talks. Look and see how they use their mannerisms, of how they use their hands. And come up with it. Like when I did Beetlejuice, I watched how Beetlejuice on Broadway, the cartoon, the movie, how Beetlejuice would do this. Would Beetlejuice just walk on stage? No, Beetlejuice would stumble on stage. Would Beetlejuice just bow? No, Beetlejuice would be like would be like this. Beetlejuice would articulate his feet to flex at some points. It was a lot of things. I tell people that they're like, well, what if I don't have a character? I'm like, well, then come up with your own persona. And how would that character walk, talk, move their hands, every little thing, and then just record it over and over and watch everything.
Thank you so much for this helpful advice for me. I was gonna say, like, if you're not a teacher, I would love to like hire you to do facial expressions for me and like
That's what I
give
want
me
to
a
do.
theater
That's the
background that
stuff.
I'm missing.
That's the stuff I want to do. I love watching people's routines and being like, hey, you repeated that too much. Here's this little here. If you do like, here's a point in your music where you should pop your hip more. You should give a big face like that. Like my pinup stuff has also helped with that, of like knowing how to do poses and holding and making little cutesy little faces. And just when I'm doing a routine, I will just research. I do a lot of research on character more so than I do sometimes my choreography. I felt like that's the part that I painstakingly did for pole theater, was a lot of just the nuances of Mary Poppins, of how Mary Poppins could be naughty but nice and cheeky and still kind of awkward, and making it all mesh as a running thing at once. So I was Mary Poppins, I was naughty Mary Poppins, but I was also HannahBelle at the same time.
I love it. Multiple personalities. That's incredible, Dawn. Thank you for sharing all those tips. Artistry is hard. Coming up with characters, and I never thought about it in the way you just described it, of like rewatching Beetlejuice over and over to get those mannerisms and how they walk and talk and things like that. So that was nice to learn. What would you advise people for props and costumes, because I've been nominated?
Oh, so I also, with props need to make sense. You have, like, if you're like, say it's a comedy routine, you need to deliver that joke on a silver platter to people, or even just props in general. It has to make sense. Like, you can't just have it and not make sense. Like, if the punchline only makes sense to you and a couple people, it probably is not going to land to a judge or an audience. It needs to, like, for example, when I upgraded my Mary Poppins routine, I went from a spoon this big to a spoon this big that I pulled out of the bag. One, because I wanted people to see it, but it was also funnier. But I hand delivered that it was a little bit funnier than a smaller spoon. It just, the biggest, and then with costumes can also tie in to like prop work. Like, I do a lot of costume removals. You need to like make sure that you practice from almost day one having it, so you can go in and refix it. Now, I will never say that I am a master seamstress. My mom sews, and I sewed in high school. I got a sewing machine and a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of time with the seam ripper. I have pretty much MacGyvered everything, and I tell everybody it's a lot of MacGyvering. Like, my Mary Poppins skirt that rips off, that was me taking apart a skirt and resewing it back together. And I practiced with putting magnets on it, snaps on it. The shirt was started out with buttons, and I was like, okay, I got to get snaps, and then I had to shorten it. It just, if you don't start from the beginning. I also did a routine with a hazmat suit that I had to take the hazmat suit off. Well, I had different hazmat suits. I had to work with different lengths. I had to make those things, like that hazmat suit, go up to almost my ankle, because I had to, and then rip the sides a little bit. If I would have started that a month before competition, I wouldn't have never been able to get out of it, because I had to practice every single way to get out of that in case I got stuck, because it got stuck on my foot the day of competition and I whipped it off my foot. And everybody thought I was planned because I had practiced it. And that's also like with props. You got to practice with your props, because if something goes wrong, you need to know what to do. Like, and that's like, I see a lot of things go awry with people, is either they have too many props, they don't know what they're doing when something happens, and it just becomes a.
I'm glad you bring up like practicing with the clothing removal props too, because like It really is like you're dancing with a partner.
It is. It is. I got stuck in my jacket a little bit at Pole Theater that I got it off, and I was prepared to go and just rip the whole thing. And that was the same with like my hazmat suit. If the zipper would have gotten stuck, I would have just ripped the whole thing off of me. Like I was prepared. Like I've told people, I'm like, be prepared to just, and a lot of times, and just don't take it off. Sometimes yes, take it off and leave it be. But a lot of the times I know judges want you to go back to it.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up too, because that's like one of the main things that I always write. I'm like, you just took off your shirt, but like then it was on the side of the stage and it didn't do anything else for the rest of the time. Like maybe you could have danced with it somehow, danced out of it.
Yeah. Like my Mary
Right.
stuff, it made sense for me not to go back for it. I know with my hazmat, they said they wanted me to go back to it more. I came back to it at the end, but they wish that I would have came back to it a little bit more. And like looking back, I was like, yeah, I probably could have gone back to it a little bit more. But also I see people get too many props and then it's just like a whole explosion on the stage and you don't know where to look. And I'm like, pick some and stick with it.
Right. I think that's why I've never actually danced with a prop because I just can't. I cannot. It's too much to deal with myself.
Too funny. I'm working on it. Thank you for those things. Okay. It's it.
Yes.
Use them.
And also people I've seen struggle because I wear a lot of wigs too on stage. I style my own wigs. A lot of people struggle with like wigs and stuff. And I always tell people, I'm like, you have to use a front lace wig. Like one, it's gonna look more seamless on your head. And two, that is another anchor point. You glue. It's gonna glue. You're not gonna, it's not gonna be fun to take off at the end of the day, but it is a glue point and it's gonna stay. People are like, well, I've had issues with it. I'm like, well, I glue it and then I stick bobby pins everywhere and I have not have an issue. I do declare it as a prop in the case of an emergency that I have to rip that wig off because I've had like 2 showcase performances where I have ripped a wig off. One was on purpose. It was a Hannah Montana routine and I wanted to take my wig off. And it was the first time I did Beetlejuice. It was starting to come off, so I just went and took it off anyway. But it's like I don't know. I'm like, you just have to anchor it well, and it will be fine. And I don't have to practice anymore with them, but like my Mary wig is pretty heavy. Like if you're not ready for it, I have it there. You're gonna have to practice with it.
Wow, this is amazing advice.
Things I learned real fast.
Right. I've never danced with a wig, but I've often thought about it because it really transforms you.
It does.
It does. And
You
especially,
become the character.
yeah.
Like I could be Mary Poppins with green hair, but does it really
Yeah.
make me Mary Poppins? No, when I wear the brown hair with the makeup, then I actually become Mary Poppins. When I had swamp green hair, I became Beetlejuice. When I've done like when I do pinup contests, a lot of the times I'll wear a wig now because it looks more natural. Not that I couldn't wear vivids, but there's a lot of purists, which is a different conversation for a different day, that like seeing their pinups with natural hair. Um, but I wear them in there a lot of the times, and it's fun to style them.
OMG. And the glue it down in the front lace tip, I love it because there's like
Yes.
Mhm.
it falling off on a spin pass or something. And
Yeah.
seeing the
Right.
little duct tape you thought would hold it on.
I think that's also people just don't realize. I know that PSO recently changed the rule about like something like that, and my unicorn said that probably like if it was like a fake pony, it would be. I'd still be still too scared that a wig wouldn't count for it. I'm paranoid. I'm just gonna put it down.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna put down that the wig is on there. I'm just an overly paranoid person.
It's better safe than sorry because
It is a better safe than sorry thing. Oh, like my first ever competition, I got told you don't need to do this, but I literally wrote down bobby pins because I was scared because I had a little fake hair piece. I was afraid that if my bobby pins came off, I was gonna get, because like in dance team competitions, like IDTA, Illinois Dance Team Association, if we like had like a hair tie or a shoe come off and someone stepped on it, that was a team deduction. Or like if we dropped a palm and someone kicked the palm, that was a safety deduction. So in my head, always, I'm like, just gonna put that on there. We're just gonna be safe.
I mean, it's a good way to think.
Yeah. And then on my unicorns, like, you guys don't need to put that down on there.
No, you don't. Right. If it's an accident and it's clear it's an accident, it's not anything. But I guess if you like played it off like you didn't like it was supposed to happen, then maybe we would be like, was that a prop?
That's the thing with me is I would play it off. If I had emergency, had to rip my wig off, I would make it look like I was supposed to happen. So that's why I'm just gonna write it down, because everyone's gonna think it's part of the bit at that point.
Right. Again, such good advice. Wait, did you want to talk a little bit more about your costume and wig experience?
Costuming. I started dabbling in costume wig work. Wig work, I started dabbling in wig work because of pinup contests. When I had the whole side of my head shaved in 2020, and it was purple. I really was like, well, this very, very traditional pinup contest, I can try to make this work, but I can't. So at that point, I hadn't taken any classes. So I watched a couple of drag queen videos on YouTube and made it work. And it worked out. I won. I was like, woo. And then I started taking classes with a very well-known wig stylist out of the UK for pinup stuff. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Kind of just started styling my own wigs for pinup, for other people. And then my first like pole wig was my genie wig. Was not my favorite wig, but I did it. And then it just kind of went from there. And then when I did Mary the first time, I just kind of made this very beautiful and got the hat on. And then I've done a couple wigs for people for competition. I did a Bridgerton wig for somebody. It was really pretty. And I've just gone from there. Costuming, I just find pieces, and as I said, I'm a guy for them. Like for Beetlejuice, I found a swimsuit that was black and white. I got a fake collar off of Amazon. I sewed it on, sewed a fake tie on, just bedazzled. Like I am like, that's all I do is bedazzle. And the hard part about that is once I was in makeup and hair, I could not get out of that costume until I was done, unless I wanted to be out of it. So that's why I tell people I am not a master seamstress, because I was not getting out of that costume. It was stuck. I take in now a lot of my own costumes. Like I'm able to do that. I have patterns I want to start like trying to, but the bad thing about patterns I find on Etsy is they're not really size inclusive. And I'm going to have to like learn to expand the patterns a little bit. But I found like bikini tops work a lot, and I can add like sequence outsides to them. And then my whole pole theater top was just like stretchy sequence over bikini thing, because I really wanted the Cleo sparkly top, but it was sold out. So I'm like, well, I'm going to make my own now. We're going to make it work. And so I did. And everything has come along because I had bought custom costumes, not by anybody who is in the pole scene. They were actually a friend. And I was not happy with them. I had paid a lot of money for them not to fit me. And so I'm like, might as well just do it yourself. You can just get it, and then I can't be mad at anybody but myself if it doesn't go right.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. But encourage you to learn, and now look at you, maybe spend money and doing it for other people yourself.
Yeah. And I've been like giving tips and stuff for people who want to learn to do it themselves. Like people who are struggling with it, I'm like, here, this is what I do. And they're like, yo, you put like, 'cause I just wore a corset at a show that I had like over 2,000 rhinestones on it. Like it was beautiful. They're like, you did that yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I just turned on Drag Race and just boop, 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 just keep going. Just keep going. And I tell them what glue I use. Like, I don't believe in gatekeeping around here. Like, we all need to learn, and it's going to save people money. And time, like it's not going to save time, you're going to lose time, but it's going to mostly save money for people in the long run. um you're going to spend more time than you are money, but sometimes people, I just want, like, people want to learn to do things themselves.
Right? Or if you're like me and you've tried and then you ended up covered in the glue, getting someone else to do it for you.
Oh, I still get covered in glue. Like, don't get me wrong there. I'm still covered in glue. Or I have burned myself really badly with the hot fix tool. Like,
Oh, you're
there is
so good to
still
keep going.
there is still mishaps, and I've still had to, and stabbing myself really hard, hand sewing stuff. Like, there's still mishaps that happen. It's part of the learning process. It's
Yeah.
part of the fun.
Because I will say a hot glue gun has become my favorite tool because I can't sew yet, but for costumes, hot glue gun.
Hot glue,
Yeah, so
yes, me too.
I have a pretty, after having to do all the centerpieces for my wedding, I have like the industrial hot glue gun, and my husband knows some shit's going down if I have the hot glue gun out. He's just used to, though, our apartment just being an explosion of rhinestones everywhere. He's like, okay, you're just working on something else now. I'm like, yep, one's done. Time to
Yeah.
start on a new one.
Yep. So we love it. Not the Elmer's glue, but the hot glue gun. You mean business.
Although I don't really recommend it too much, but a burlesque dancer told me, and I do it, Elmer spray glue does keep your pasties on. It is not the spray one. It is not really body safe, and it will burn. But I was like, because I asked one of them, I'm like, how do you keep your pasties on? Like the ones that don't have adhesive. And she's like, I don't really recommend it, but it's Elmer spray glue. And she wasn't lying. So yeah, yeah.
Sensitivity and
Yeah, like I am
Same, rest in peace, nipples.
yeah, I am slightly allergic to adhesives, and so
Same.
the amount of times, like after a competition, like after pole theater, I'm like, I'm having an allergic reaction currently. My husband's like, what? I'm like, because I sprayed my pasties down.
Oh.
Well, I didn't want to pop a pasty on stage.
Too funny. Hey, it worked.
It worked. I will say, like, ghost glue and liquid latex is probably the more body safe option for people. Don't necessarily have to listen to the burly girls on that one. It does work.
Right.
I heard there's even like a pasty additional adhesive, but it doesn't always work for everybody.
No, I think it's
Right,
probably a
different.
liquid. It's probably a liquid latex or a like ghost glue, but I think ghost glue is what I use for waist. I think it's a version of a liquid latex, to be completely honest.
Right. I feel like I use the double-sided tape, the fabric tape.
I sweat too much. I feel that it never works. I've tried to use that on shorts too, and I'm like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
I use the roll-on glue for my shorts.
Ah. Wait, there's a new one that came out. I saw a bunch of pole dancers advertising for it. Now I can't remember the name of it, but it like rolls on.
It's like
yeah, I think that was the one.
Yes,
yeah.
On one Crystal Jones, name dropper. Love her. She runs pole theater.
Yeah.
She turned me on to that a couple of competitions ago, and I was like, okay, I love this stuff. This is the first time my shorts have never rolled down on stage.
Hell yeah.
Like a little bit of a self-conscious thing for me. And
Same, I'm
like, yep, love this.
That's good to know. I'll have to check it out because I was like, ooh, that looks like it works.
You have to let it get tacky for at least like 45 seconds to a minute before you lay your costume down, or it really won't stick. And then I usually walk around with like my hands on my stomach, like I've got a belly ache for like a good another 2 minutes.
Just so it really is adhesive.
Yeah. And then it usually pulls you on your skin when you take it off, so you know it works.
Great. Oh, that's so good to know. Thank you for sharing that. So many behind the scenes tips here.
Yes.
Love it.
As I said, no gatekeeping.
Right. I so appreciate that. Do you want to tell us what did you go into your favorite pole dancing style? Did we talk about that?
Nope, I hadn't. I like to call my favorite style was kind of like my signature style is sexertainment. It's a mix of sexy entertainment in comedy. That kind of came along in the last year or so since I've become more comfortable with me. I also like, I don't even know what you would call his style. I like to ruin childhood characters for people in the best way possible. Uh, I like to just like reimagine them in funny ways with clever mixes and ways that people never would think that they would do it. I'm more of, as I said, like a comedy dancer, but I do appreciate pretty much every style, even if they're not for me. But my favorite is more of that entertainment. I'm an entertainment girly for sure.
I love that you mentioned you appreciate all styles, even though they're not for you, because that is important. We all need to do things to keep ourselves more well-rounded, and it's perfectly okay to not be good at things and still enjoy them.
Yes. And I feel like everybody should dabble in it a
Yes.
little bit to be well-rounded. Like I'm not a sport girly, but I am trying to get more tricky as I go along because it is pole dancing. I do have to touch a pole eventually. I I know I can do low flow and stuff, but sometimes it is required of me to go up the pole as much as I have a disdain at times for it and do the same trick in pretty much every routine, but it looks good on me. So who
Oh,
cares?
I love it. I feel the same way.
master what you master what you know. I do
Right?
feel
And make it your own.
yes, exactly. I do feel like Sexertainment would be a beautiful workshop name for you for like a pole theater workshop to teach people,
Yes.
you know, bring that artistry up.
Yeah. And then there's times like, as I said, I don't do really sexy with it. I just do straight, pure comedy character work. But more and more, I've just do a mix of sexy entertainment because I just find it entertaining. That's like literally all I can say is it's entertaining.
Yes. So inspiring because I've been thinking of dabbling with sexy horror. Like it's been on my,
Yes.
so I love hearing that you're doing that with sexy comedy and sexy entertainment. So it's definitely inspiring. Thank you for that.
We need more people to do dabble in different things to show more people that there are pole can be anything,
Yeah.
anything you want it to be, because dance can be anything you want it to be. You can could be like SpongeBob in the if you want, like it, that's literally what dance can be, any sort of just moving your body. And that can go the same for pole. Like just spin around in circles if you want to hold on to it and just run. It's fine. That's still pole dancing to me.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna like it. If you like it, that's all that matters.
Yes. I know I will have succeeded when I end my routine on a spin pole pass and blood dripping from my face hitting everybody.
That is actually like amazing.
Fake blood, obviously. Fake blood.
Yes, yes, but no, but that is like there somebody somewhere will be like that is the most amazing concept ever. Do it.
Love to declare a splash zone.
Hey, I had a splash zone. I had to have a splash zone for one of my showcases, and I was Willy Wonka, and I had a bunch of chocolate syrup dumped on me, and like we had to like make sure people stayed out of the area because I was like just like a huge monster covered in chocolate syrup, and I just got it all off me and wrapped myself in a bunch of stuff and got in my vehicle and went home and went straight into the shower in my costume.
I love that. Do all competitions do splash zones?
No, no, this was a studio showcase. I know PSO doesn't allow you to have messy props. Pole theater does. You have to have like a drop mat, and you have to have someone come out with shoes, a towel, and you have to walk straight to the shower afterwards.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I
So they
love
do allow
that.
it.
Ah, that's so good to know. Yeah, the rules about it.
There's some like bigger shows that do like pole dance extravaganza in Missouri. Shameless plug, the longest running pole show in the world. It's the 17th year, curated by Michelle Minks, who is an amazing human being. Love her. You can pretty much, as long as you have a drop, like thing, you can have messy, because like spoiler alert, there's going to be a pie in my routine this year. So like, and I might be dressed as a Swedish chef. So from the Muppets.
Love it.
I cannot wait to see this one.
It was a very unhinged idea that was supposed to happen last year, and I chickened out. So it's going to be unhinged, but like there's been people with baby pools and water there. I've seen people tear up and smash up piles of pancakes and syrup, popcorn syrup on stage. So like that's a show that I've seen, like it artistic mess. Love it.
I love there's a show for everyone.
There is a show for everyone.
Should be.
Right? Definitely. Well,
We asked my favorite question. Do you have a favorite coat trick? Or
I do. One of my instructors will literally just call me the stargazer queen. So my favorite trick is a stargazer. I love anything from a stargazer. Whether it is a drop from a stargazer, my, like, I guess you can call my signature trick is a stargazer to a cross knee to a rainbow to a closed rainbow where I hold my leg. I literally will do it in almost every routine. Like my goal for my next competition is to not have that pass in the routine. I call it my old standby, and because I call my little stargazer that could.
I love it. That combo is so scary. I would never do that, but I'm sure you rock it.
People have told me like that, like even my stargazer drop, I've had advanced pullers, because like that one you have to go like stargazer under your leg, drop back and hold it. Like, you know how scary that is? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't aerial invert, so I had to come up with something to get upside down. And so I saw that. So I'm like, I think that one is doable. It's from a stargazer. And I was like, let's do it. And it's just like I'm working on currently a Remy to a butterfly. And that's like a whole whoop. And people are like, that's scary. I'm like, yeah, but I guess I like sketchy transitions. But then I'm always like, well, I can't do this. And people are like, you're doing a sketchy thing. I'm like, I guess it's apples and oranges.
Oh my gosh, I feel like it's always like that. See, I hate Remy too. Like I would
Oh, I love
never.
Remy. That's probably like although like my hip for some reason does not like doing a Remy layback as much, but like I will just, after doing the genie route, like doing Friend Like Me, I sat in a Remy for so long. Like there was days where my grip wasn't holding and I was just sliding down the pole and people are like, is that hurting? I'm like, not anymore. My foot's desensitized. Like the days of that hurting are long over. Like, so anything from like a stargazer or a Remy, I'm like, sign me up. Used to be also butterfly, but pretty much stargazer, Remy. Anything that which is horrible for me to say, anything that my hypermobility and my back can come into play. I'm gonna regret that statement.
No.
I'm gonna regret that. I already regret that statement in like 5 years, because my back is already in bad condition
Ah.
because of being a hypermobile polar. But like people are like, beautiful back flexibility. I'm like, that is brought to you by hypermobility.
Thank you for
Like,
being honest about that though. Like, and it is important to bring that up because
yes,
sometimes it's deceiving, but we should all acknowledge that we have superpowers and that's why we can do those things.
yes. I just try to make people aware that like, yes, I also am naturally flexible, but some of this stuff is because I am hypermobile, and it isn't always a good thing because I lose awareness of how far I've gone. At times I'd be even more conscious that I'm not pushing something, and then I end up injured because I have ended up injured because I haven't been totally aware that I was past the point of no return and hurt myself.
Right? It's so easy for hypermobile pole dancers to not be aware of their limits and just we like to show off.
It's sometimes like last year I like was doing a Marley and I pulled my calf muscle and didn't know until the next day, and had to pull a pass out of competition just because it was just like, now here's your calf screwed up, you know, to PT. And he was like, yeah, it was probably because your whole leg went to hyper, like when you snap back out of it, your leg probably just went whoop, real quick. And I'm like, cool, this is awesome. And then I was scared to do a Marley for like 4 months.
Same. I have actually, after I tore my ACL, I have not done a Marley since.
I've done it a couple of times, and I all I've ever wanted is to put a Marley on stage since before the pandemic. And every time I've gone to do it, something has happened that I haven't done it. So I'm like, November, it's going to happen. I am, knock on wood, not going to strain my calf muscle like 2 months before competition.
Right. I always recommend like any for hypermobile pole dancers, if any of those moves that bind, like the Marley or the Remy, because you're using like your arm to and your other leg to kind of hold you on, try to do it without that bind and see if you can hold, because then you know that you have the strength. But it's harder. Like imagine doing a Marley without your hand. Like that's what you kind of need to do.
That's terrifying.
I know.
Like I can do a no-handed Marley, no issue. Like I typically like I do clothing removal without in a Marley during shows. Like I take my top off, so that's not a problem. But Marley,
yeah.
oh God, well, you kind of have to be able to do a cocoon. You got to be able to go no-handed. So,
Yes.
and I want to be able to do a cocoon, so I might as well just start working on it.
Yes, right. And then you'll be safe and you'll protect your joints for longevity in the sport.
My massage therapist would probably appreciate me taking better care of myself.
Right. Yeah, it's important to bring up for sure because
Yeah.
like I said, we got these superpowers and it just goes and then
I feel like even since I started 7 years ago, like the people bringing up hypermobility to now was like, even in the beginning, it wasn't until the first time I injured my shoulder that it was even brought to my attention how like hypermobile my shoulders were. And they're like, oh, you're super hypermobile, have you ever been tested for any hypermobile disorders? I'm like, no. And like I haven't, but I probably would I'm on this, have to be on the hypermobile spectrum at this like point with the issues. But since then, more instructors are more aware of like, I can't just throw myself into things. I shouldn't. Nobody should be.
I feel like
yes.
one of those that it injures a lot of people, and a lot of people want to do it. It's would you say that's your pole nemesis, or do you have another one?
What would be my pole nemesis? I didn't hear you.
Marley at the moment is
no, actually Marley and I are typically friends.
Love it.
Honestly, this will make my instructor laugh. Actually, my nemesis currently would be climbing. I would say climbing and inverts, because when I learned to climb, it really wasn't stopped me from hanging really badly, which injured my shoulders. So like I can boogie up the pole pretty fast incorrectly. So it's literally been since January we've been trying to get me now to forearm climb correctly. Like just push off my forearm, which is really hard for when you've not been doing that for 7 years. And because like if I can do that, then I can start pointing my toe, because I've always just say I'll just take the L on that one. Like I can climb, but I it's fine if I don't have that back foot pointed. They're always just going to say something about it. It's okay. It is what it is. But for my longevity of my shoulders and my body, I need to learn how to climb a little bit better. And then working on my inverts from the floor a little bit better. My instructor took the invert ready course with Marlo Fiskin, and she has gotten so much better with like, no, I shouldn't say she hasn't. My instructor's amazing. That was a bad choice of words. One of my instructors is a little snipper. First name's Christine. She is already an amazing instructor, but taking that invert ready course has been able to help reteach all of us inverting, and helping all of us that have struggled with inverting And like, I just stopped inverting from the floor for a while, even though I can do it because it was just messy. I did a little shimmy. Now I don't shimmy as much.
I love that. I also feel like we're the same person when it comes to climbing, though, because I also had to add climbing back into my regular conditioning because I've been doing it incorrectly and pulling my whole body up with my hyperextended elbow, shoulder, everything.
Yeah, just here's
I
this
just like
and there's
pull it
that.
up and then
And
be
it's
like,
just,
why am I in pain?
yeah, I was at CPC. My elbow was hurting, like bicep elbow was hurting. And it was right after I was at a pole cleaning shift. It was cleaning, and I could just literally hear my instructor in my ear. It's because you're not using your forearm to climb. And I'm like, and then I told her that afterwards. She goes, "Did you hear me in your ear saying it wasn't because it was because you weren't using your forearm?" I'm like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're right. You're like the mom. It's like, Mom, you're always right.
Thank you for being in my ear.
That's like my instructors. I joked yesterday in my class that they team up together and they have traumatized me with the word again. Literally, I just go, "You've traumatized me with the word again."
I love
And the
it.
one she actually just kind of played on, she goes, "Yeah, we meet up every Thursday and it has been discussed. We're just going to traumatize you."
It's for your own good.
It is for my own good. I need instructors that push me. Because I was in dance, I was used to instructors that push me in a very positive way because I will self-push myself. I have very good self-motivation when I'm training, but there's sometimes in class I'll just be like, "What do I do now? What am I doing?" And there's like literally like instructors could list off everything that I can work on, but my brain will just kind of go blank, and then I'll be kind of lazy, and I shouldn't be. And so it's great that I have two instructors, each with different strengths that will push me now, like will push me to work on things. And that I've seen since starting with my one instructor in January, since I switched jobs, I've seen my strength has gone up like tenfold from different styles of conditioning. And I'm like, okay, that's what I needed, because like in dance, I was forced, not really forced, I signed up for it, but like I was held to that accountability and standard in class, especially like college too, or you leave, get out of my class, like especially college, like you're getting graded. It's disrespectful to come to my class and not be there to work. So that's the kind of thing I was always been used to.
That leads us into the next question. Do you have any pole dance philosophies to share?
Actually, I have one tattooed on me. It says, "Do it twice and take pictures." That's also just a life philosophy. Always been one that's been always been kind of like doubted and the underdog in everything in life. Like when it came from like my pinup stuff to just like becoming a hairstylist and pole, when just people just not thinking that. And I know I shouldn't think of what others do, but there's been times of like, "You don't think I can do this? Now watch me do this. I'll do it twice and I'll take pictures."
I love that. And I love that you have it tattooed on yourself.
Yeah, so this was like, I have a lot of silly tattoos, but this is one of my meaningful ones. And that is just a reminder that I pretty much can do anything and I can just do it twice and take pictures. And it's pretty much a big F you to people that just don't believe in me. And again, I do know that it doesn't matter what other people think, but sometimes it's really hard to push that off, even with like childhood trauma, adulthood trauma, just everything. You just got to keep going. I'm also just a big one of like, just you are your own special type of magic. Like there is not another you. And also now is the time, not later, not when you lose weight, not when you get a little stronger, not when you get XYZ trick. now is a good time. You don't need to hit a benchmark to compete, to perform, to start pole, to do anything. You can do it now. There are legitimate reasons not to do things, but if you're using like, you're pretty much just talking yourself down when you can just do it.
Love it. Love those philosophies.
Sharing that.
Right. We'll probably use some of those clips for our Monday motivation posts.
I've thought
Do you
about
have any?
sending them in a couple of times, but then I'm like, I'm goldfish sometimes, and I'm like, huh, I forgot to do that again. I have
It
to write
happens
down
every
lists.
Monday.
Yeah, I'm one of those, I have to write down a list of what I've got to do that week between like my job posts, like social media posts, just everything that I like between like, okay, show stuff so that I have show stuff that I'm in. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize now that I just started as a hobby and now it's kind of like becoming a second job hobby too. Oh, my husband kind of was a little annoyed with that. And I'm like, well, I'm paying for my own costuming and stuff now, but I get what you're saying. Started as a hobby and is kind of now a hobby job. And I'm always competing and you feel like it's a never ending cycle, but I get it. But like I'm one of those that if I just don't write things down, I'm a little bit of a goldfish at times.
Oh my gosh. I love how Pole just kind of sucks us in and like is like, this is what you're doing now.
How I was when I was with dance when I was younger though. Like it was my all consuming things. If my parents could like ground me from video games, let out everything. But if they threatened to say I couldn't go to dance, that was the worst punishment ever. Oh, like would be the end of the world was happening. Like when they made me choose between doing a high school dance team and studio dance in high school which I get, they're both expensive. And I chose to do high school dance team. It was like the end of the world for me at first because like, how dare you make me choose between studio and dance? How dare you?
Oh my gosh, I had a similar, but it was like, do you want to dance or do you want to be a cheerleader? And I chose cheerleading and then I went right back to dance.
Right after I graduated high school and I was like went away I went to community college the first year out of high school and then I went away for a year and a half. I went back to the studio dance that year and then I went away to school and I was a dance minor, so I had dance classes every single day anyway. So my mom couldn't it's not that she wanted to stop me, but it was like, well, now I'm out of school anyway, so I'm paying for myself, so you can't stop me now. And then when I came back home after being away at school, I went back to studio dance for a year. And it was, and then I took a hiatus for many years. And that's what happens to a lot of girls anyway. They're like, magical day that they're like, I'm now too old. You're not too old.
Right? Thank you also for saying that because like I think there's a real lack of adult dance classes, at least in our
Yes.
area, but like there's pole, so at least there's that. But why does everyone stop dancing?
There's even in like, cause I would say in Chicago suburbs, like the town I live in would be like the first Chicago suburb. I can find some tap classes, but finding ballet classes is hard. But we have a couple pole studios, but like I've wanted to take ballet just to like some of the times when I watch my videos, I feel like my hands get out of control and I'm like, I need to rein that back in a little bit. But I would have to go to the actual city to get more consistent. And much as I love Chicago, I really don't want to drive an hour and a half in rush hour traffic to go to a class. And then if they do have adult ballet classes, it's like a half an hour long. I'm like, how do you even get through bar in 30 minutes? Like,
Yeah, that sucks.
yeah, and I'm like, that's one of the in town that has that. It says 30 minutes. I'm like, well, how are you doing bar in 30 minutes? Like, bar's like 45, if not longer. Like, was my worst experience of my life. I hated bar. I do miss it right now, but like, it would drag on.
Oh my gosh, I love bar and I hated floor because bar I was like holding on to something and floor I'm like no.
Oh, I hated floor. I just like I like doing things across the floor. Um I didn't like doing adagio. Like no. I'd rather be moving. I'd be in Petite Allegro would also be a little bit better, even though I'd just look like a flapping little bird in the air. But because like adagio, I'd just be falling over half the time. I have some funny stories of like my college professor who was like this older Russian woman who was not the nicest. I had very sweet dance teachers growing up who still teach there that were like very motherly like. And then I get to college and get told I'm not paying $30,000 to take hula hoop lessons. And then so I'm like, I get actually put into the strict like dance environment that I'm like, okay. It's the first time I've ever had to just wear leotards and tights before and not a skirt. So this is awesome. You're making me wear black and pink. Oh no. This is a new whole experience for me for my little midwestern studio.
Oh my gosh. I feel like back to like the balance and adagio thing. I feel like that's a hypermobility thing, honestly.
It might be because like as of recent, I'm pretty sure I'm having some issues with I was talking to my teacher. I used to not have issues in heels that much with like ankle instability. And it's been coming up since the beginning of the year, even in boots. My ankles have just been popping. And she's like, well, your ankles aren't stable. You need to work on your ankle stability. I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to, but this is just popping up because it would only be once in a while when I pop it. I used to do points, so my ankles were strong. And now they're not anymore. It's just becoming as I've gotten older, it's just gotten worse and they'll just randomly roll.
Ah!
I wish I would have gotten it on video. I did like this run of my whole theater routine and like I was like ripping my jacket off and my ankle rolled and I like felt like rolled backwards and almost did a somersault and just laid there and laughed. It was hilarious because I know how to fall. But I wish I was recording it because it would have been the best blooper. It was one of those that like it was okay, I wasn't hurt, but my ankle just decided. I'm like, thanks.
That's so frightening and horrible. Like we just don't know when it's gonna happen, and you're just like, I'm trying my best, body.
Like I'm like, do I tape my ankles underneath my boots now? Like I want to wear sandals, but do I just wear boots and start taping my ankles now to like help with it? Like I do exercises, but I do believe that it's just because my ankles are hypermobile and I'm now have instability in them that I don't know if strengthening is going to help as much. It's going maybe, but I don't know if this is just part of unfortunately the aging process with my body. Like, is this the ding dong? You're now in your mid 30s, and this is what the aging dancer's body is now going to do to you. And I was telling my mom, I don't ever feel older. Like, physically, I feel older, but mentally, I still feel, other than mature wise, it doesn't feel any different than like when I was in my 20s. But now I'm like waking up and my back, like, I'm stuck kind of like here to sit up. And like, so this is what happens. This is what you told me was going to happen when I was 16 and to be careful. This is what arthritis in your toes feels like. Is this only just going to get worse? Also being a hairstylist, like I don't.
Right? It's not just the repetitive motion and our body's like, oh, you want to do this? Let me help you more and shut off all the other things.
Yeah. Like my husband's like, why are you walking hunched over? And I'm like, because my body has not reacted to stand back straight up yet. And currently this is where I'm stiff. And I used to think like, because my mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and I used to be like, this was young me being like, she's being over dramatic. No, it's not over dramatic. Like,
right. I've heard that's so much more painful.
yeah, she has like, it's a version of it. It's spinal spondylosis, so it's all in her back and her discs. And she's gotten a lot better, especially through using medicinal marijuana. Like she hasn't had to be on Enbrel in years because of it. And it's been a lot. She also has Crohn's and Hashimoto's with her thyroid. Like which is also very scary for me because at any point in time, any sort of thing could pop up on me. But so far, so good. But it's been amazing to see that she's been able to help with having her medical card, but also being like, this is around, I'm turning 34 in August, and being like, well, this is when it started getting bad for her.
Well, everyone is different.
Yes.
And also our limitations make us more creative. So that's why I always remind myself.
I'm like, I might be limited, but the thing is where I am limited, I make up in other places. And that if I could make if me and somebody who had a ton of tricks could make a polar together, we'd be a monster polar. Like oh my God, the Monstars from Space Jam. That would be me in a tricky polar in a polar. Like, because if you add my stage presence and musicality with someone who is like the ultimate trickster, like Ashley Fox, we would be like, and she already has banging musicality and stage presence. So we had that in there, and it would be like, boom.
Yes.
And and I'm proud of myself. That's the first time I've ever allowed a positive talking experience of talking about myself like that without being like, someone's going to say that I'm being super cocky.
I was going to say, are you a Leo?
I am a Leo, but I also have I'm a Leo Virgo cusp.
That's
and then my big three is Leo, Virgo, and Gemini.
I was going to say, own that Leo.
When I'm on stage, I do, but then when I'm off stage, I only like the attention on me when it's like a positive thing. Like, if I don't want the attention on me, I would rather be hiding in the corner and not having a lot of attention on me. I'm like one of those that like just likes to hide and then pop off my cape and be like, hey, this is me, and then put it back on. Because if I don't know people when I'm at places, I stay very quiet. And then I go on stage and people are like, oh, wow, shit. And then I'm like,
you're like, on. And now we're off.
Yeah. There's like those memes of like people I've seen of like, I think it's Pete Davidson sitting there. And then I'm on stage like there. And then I'm back like with my hood on sitting in a corner. That's me. Unless I'm around a big group of friends and that I'm a huge goofball. But if I'm like, I'm very just keep to myself because I just very socially, like I have social anxiety too. So I always am very confused by myself.
You keep yourself guessing.
Yeah, it's like, I very much do. It'll be like that too. I'll be so chatty with people on social media, and then I get very clammed up to talk to people in person because I'll be like, I think I'm weird. Probably.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm the same exact way though. Well, what's the next thing that's coming soon for you?
Minx Extravaganza at the end of September. Great Lakes in November. Still need to sign up. I should find out, and let me see, did I get an email about it while we've been sitting here? Oh, oh, nope, I didn't get casted. I was waiting for a casting notification for a show. Did not get casted. Hey, you can't win them all. This is proof. You can't win them all. That was like live and in person of being like, hey, let me see if I got the casting notification. Did not get chosen. So I have Minx and then Great Lakes.
I think I heard of Great Lakes. Didn't we get an invite to the studio from Great Lakes?
There was another competition in the Great Lakes, but I think she's referring to the PSO Great Lakes.
PSO Great Lakes in Chicago. Cool. It's pretty much it's the same place that they hold Central in Chicago. They just have one in November, and then they have one in May, always Memorial Day weekend. So I'll be doing that. And if any other like October like Halloween shows pop up in between now and then.
Yes, you can revive the Beetlejuice for Halloween.
Or I have a couple other ones that I always have weird things popping up in my head.
Yes. Love it so much.
For sure.
And then hopefully you'll get your online lessons ready for me to take
Yes,
them.
hopefully eventually. One of those things I will always like be like, I'm gonna do it. I've had like one of a studio say that they're like, yes, we want to like just get it together. It's just one of those things I'm like, I need to just get it
Get it together.
get it together. My best friend's like a graphic artist, and she's like, I will help you do everything. And I'm like, I still need to fill out my bio for my new salon that I've been at for 7 months. That I just got my headshots taken 7 months later.
Well, step one, you did it.
Step one, did it. Step two, now fill out the bio.
Yeah. It takes time. It's okay.
It does. But it's fine. I'll get there in my own time.
So is that your muggle job? You work at a salon?
I'm a hairstylist, yes.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
It is great for doing pole and stuff because I don't have to hide anything. Well, I did work at a salon that unfortunately did like really want me to hide things, and I don't work there anymore. Like it was not a nice experience with that, but here everybody knows my boss is like my biggest supporter. Like she's a supportive like mom. I had a show on Saturday and she's like, "Yep, go shake those titties and earn some money." She'll send like good luck when I compete in the group chat and be like, how did you do? She'll check up on me and be like, sometimes, and I don't think my mom will watch this, but she'll sometimes be more supportive than my mom. So I love it.
That's so good that you found a place to support what you do. Because that's hard when you work for a place where they're like, you have to hide a part of your identity. Like that sucks.
And it's a big part of my identity.
Yeah.
Like huge. Like it's pretty much what I do when I'm not at work. Like if anybody asks what I do in my free time, well, I'm at the studio. Like I'm not there, I'm at the studio.
Yes.
Don't wait for that online stuff like you told everybody earlier. Don't wait, just do it.
I know. I got to listen to my own advice. Just do it. Be like Nike.
It's like you said, easier said than done sometimes.
I know. I always will be like, do, and then I'll be like, oh shit, something else is going on.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Right, one tip that we learned from Colleen Jolly is spreadsheets.
Yes.
They've actually helped me a lot get my life more organized.
Yes. Same, to use them more.
I always make lists and then I make them the home screen of my phone.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
That's like when it's like competition weekend, I always do that because there's like a lot of things. Like if I'm wearing a wig or I need specific makeup, if I was to forget it, I am fucked. Unless my husband comes a little later in the day, like especially like the Chicago ones, we're only like an hour from there that he could, but sometimes like I'm fucked. Like when we went to St. Louis, if I forgot like my wig, was done for it. Unless I could find like in St. Louis, like any big city, I could have found like a wig place, but my hat was sewn on there and it was a custom hat. So like it wasn't screwed. So I was like, I obsessively check. But yeah, spreadsheets are great. I need to do more spreadsheets in my life.
Right. I was resistant at first, but now I'm like almost a spreadsheet queen. Like, with that, do you have any other advice to share to any pole dancers, maybe beginners, or?
You're on your own journey, and it is never a straight path. It is going to go up and down. And even try not to compare yourself to others. Again, easier said than done. And try not to compare yourself to other versions of yourself. Again, easier said than done. But try not to, because sometimes I painfully look back a couple of years ago when I had a lot more tricks because I was at least 30 pounds lighter. And I have to remind myself that that was a different body type of myself. And you can't go back. You got to go forward. And we're going forward. And we'll either get back there or we'll get back to a different version of that person. And yes, it might be painful sometimes and be very much like it feels icky inside that you can't have that right now, but you could possibly. Again, you just can't give up.
Right. Thank you for bringing up that grieving too, because it is like, especially for pullers who have been in it for like, you know, more than 5 years, there's a lot of looking back. But there should also be looking forward too, because we're, you know, our bodies are always changing, and we'll always be doing things that we've maybe like never done before. There's always going to be something that's new and surprising.
Yeah.
Yes. Finding ways to combine the new us with the old us.
Yes. Right. And we got the pictures.
We'll be excited to see.
Yeah, I got the pictures and the videos.
Yeah. I'll just pull it up. I did that.
Yeah, whenever the things come in up on Instagram of you in 2021, I'm like, yeah, look at here. Look at me holding an elbow grip Aisha all by myself for more than 3 seconds, and not someone holding my hips. My philosophy, sometimes the joke is, me and another instructor have, I can do that. I just need someone to hold my hips. That we joke that I should do a whole showcase routine based on of, I can do that. I just need someone to hold my hips. I can do it with Jade really good. I just need you to hold my hips. I can do this, but I just need you to hold my hips, to all songs that talk about hips.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's
and just have the instructor all in black and just step in. You just see the arms.
They're like rolling through just to like be there.
To just hold me. I can do this. I just need you to hold my hips.
I love this concept.
It would never work for competition because you would get like, they would catch on really fast, but like a show, hilarious.
Oh my gosh. I feel like you could pull it off on a competition. It would be for entertainment for sure.
Yeah, I just maybe it just because they can't touch the pole. If they accidentally touch the pole.
Yep.
That's true. But then you could do doubles and groups.
Yeah, it's a showcase. You could do a showcase.
In showcase.
Of it. Yeah, maybe in showcase. I'll just be like, we're just gonna do this. I'll waste the money.
Like, or free dance.
They took away free dance though.
No way.
It looks like that's from what my unicorn said, that free dance is gone.
I have to look. I've been trying not to look because I have one more competition to judge wrangle before the rules change. So I'm like, don't look at it.
Yeah, that's what she said. She was like, they took away free. I'm like, no, that was gonna be like my go-to when I needed to focus on other things and not an actual routine. Okay. Like I had a blast. Why? Why VSO?
Yeah, also look, I'm sad about that too.
But I get it. They have to move forward and things, and they have to do changes and stuff. But like at Central, we had 7 people in ours. Like that was a big. There was 8, but they had a drop, and I was like, "You what?
That's a lot."
I know. I was like, I signed up for this because I didn't think that. Like, I switched from showcase to this because it was suggested I try something different. And I was like, it's fine. There won't be 8 people in it.
And then
there was. And then my friend, she was in it. She dropped because she was like, I just wasn't ready. And I got second. And I was like, thank you. You just saved me from level 4 fate when I am not ready.
Oh my gosh. Wow, because I was gonna say maybe it wasn't well attended, but I guess in that.
Well, no, that happened the last time that low flow was gonna happen at Central. There was like in the 2-3 junior senior, there was 13 or 14 people. When there hardly ever was anybody in low flow. Yeah. All of it, like one of my teammates was like, yeah, I'm gonna try it. I should be okay. There is usually only maybe 5-6 people in it. She gets it. She's like, are you shitting me? There's 13 people in this category. And like we try to frame it that if you place, you got the honor of placing, and it is an honor to have to move up. But sometimes when you're not ready, it also is a bummer because you're like, shit. Shit. It is yay, but shit.
You have one moment of happiness before you're like, oh no.
You let it. That happened with pole theater. I was like, oh shit, I gotta apply for semi-pro now. Oh, dude.
You know what that means? You're semi-pro.
I'm semi-pro technically. But then according to the new PSO rules, if I was to win semi-pro, which who knows ever, then I would have to immediately jump to level 5. And I'm barely clocked as a level 3. But you know what I said to that? I will just give them the best show that I can, even if I'm not winning. And then everyone's just going to question why the fuck I'm in level 5. And I'm just going to say, please see the rules. I'm following the rules. And it says here, I am supposed to be here. Although I won in an artistic competition. But I see it is a great rule to have, because I know that they need to get some people to keep going. But then I looked at it and I'm like, some of us might fall victim to that are definitely not ready for level 5. But you know what? We're just gonna do it. If it comes down to it, well.
Honestly, I'm in the same boat and I felt the same. I'm team last place all day long in level 5.
And you know what? If that comes down to it, that I have to do that, you know what? I will try my best. I'll put my little stargazer that could out there. And I'll still put on a hell of a show. And I tell myself, don't worry about it until you need to worry about it. It was a moment when I saw it. I understand why the rule's there. I respect why the rule is there. But it also was, some of us are artistic dancers. We're not tricksters. That's gonna be an interesting one. But then again, you just gotta go with it.
You just gotta step into your power.
Exactly.
And show what you are best at. Because it is really about the story anyway. Unless you're
It is. And if you technically even follow the artistic scale, it's still 25 points of clarity, a concept.
Yes.
And it's even hypothetically, if I was tanked on if I was tanked on like the level appropriateness, if I still had high clarity of concept, high there, and high cleanliness of what I had,
yes,
still technically could do good. They would just have to put me down low on everything else. So you're following the true judging scale, but it is what it is. I'm excited to see how this year with everything goes.
Yes, me too. I can't wait to see what happens for you as well. Well, I think that was all of the questions that I had.
Yes,
I think so.
Cris, did you have any other?
I don't think so. I'm just thinking about all the possibilities of what she's going to come up with in the future.
I do know for Great Lakes, I'm probably going to do entertainment, because it's like now it's going to be artistic entertainment and dramatic. So there's a chance if they're together. But I do know that I decided I'm going to focus on tricks in my entertainment and not a character.
Ah, right. Because it could be more of just an emotion, like most people interpret that to be.
Yeah. And so like recently, not that I complain about, because I do comedy. I've seen a lot more comedy entertainment than doing just an upbeat entertainment. And so I also struggle with, just because my music's fast, I don't need to be fast. So I was thinking, I'm gonna do a fast song, try to work on that, try to up my trick value, because I'm too terrified to go into championship level 3, because that is a whole different ball game. And level 3 senior championship, they are balls to the wall. No, that's not me. And so I'm going to work on that and just be my authentic self and not so much hide behind a character, and do it that way and see how that goes. And I'm just going to hope that they combined them both and not split them, because I would love to be combined with dramatic to see how that goes and how I would fare against a dramatic division.
That's exciting.
Right? Right. I'm definitely excited to see how it all works out.
Yeah. And then I'm going to apply for Pole Theater when probably again, obviously.
Hell yeah. Semi-pro.
Yeah. But gonna stick to what I'm good at, and I'm gonna go comedy.
Hell yeah.
Not ready to try to jump out of my box on that one. I probably would be fine, but I've only ever done one dramatic routine and it was fine. But I'm gonna stick to what I'm good at on that.
Oh yeah.
And then next time you do both tricks and your artistry.
I'm excited. I'm excited to start thinking of tricks and combos that I was told by instructor, pick 3 tricks that you want and let's go from there. And so I've been honest in thinking with myself of which ones I believe are realistic between now and November, which I've been working on, that I can either add and change to combos that I've had before, and working on some floor work stuff that's a little bit harder. And I'm just going to go for it. And then plus it's going to help me for pole theater, where I know that I need to up my value of trick for semi-pro, because I didn't have as hard as stuff in amateur, but I know for semi-pro I do need to go up a little bit in it. Not that it's required, but I just do believe that I just should, because it is semi-pro. But that's what I'm looking forward to most, is just trying to bring my most strong self.
Yes, I love it. Well, this has been a super inspiring and wonderful interview full of tips that I'm going to savor forever. Thank you so much
It's
for
been fun. It's been like actually just chit-chatting with friends.
Yes.
How we always try to make it feel.
Right, yeah.
I did a pinup one many years ago that was like a little bit more like serious, and I was like, ooh. That, but I also had to talk a little bit more about like serious stuff. But this is more like kikiing with people. So I'm like, I like it.
Right, yeah, we're just sharing stories.
Yeah.
And inspiring everyone else.
Yes, I'm excited to see what comes for you in the future. I'm excited to take some of these tips and maybe start working on horror beauty, sexy horror.
Hey, I always tell people you're always welcome to shoot me messages and ask questions. I absolutely love it, just because I like being the helper.
Oh yeah.
I've always liked being the helper, despite not wanting to being a pole teacher, or actually I was in school to be a teacher for one time. I like that teaching aspect of being able to help people and give insight and everything, whether you take it or not. I like giving that eye of being like, hey, I see this and this is what I see for you. I'm like one of those, I can really think of ideas out of nowhere. So I always tell people my inbox is always open. Like, if you need help, I'm here.
Thank you so much for that. So
We have
appreciative.
those links and handles in the comments for all of y'all to take up that, hit her up. To take up that offer. There you go. I couldn't find the word.
Words are hard. That is like the saying I say multiple times a day. Words are hard.
They really are. Oh my gosh. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight and
Thank you for having me.
tips.
And be sure to vote at the Poll Awards, y'all, where Hannah has been nominated for, I think, 2 for costumes and props.
Yay. Yes, you can visit all of those links at poleonthecall.com. And with that, we will be signing out. My name is Mændy Mac.
Love it.
We're here with the amazing Hannah, the pole dancing pinup.
Yes, and 2024 pole comedy amateur champion.
Yes.